Hi, I'm Anna Brewster. Welcome to Art Club for April, and I'm out in the garden today and I am making these funky little daffodil panels, and the idea is that you can use them to make a mug wrap round, you know, if you order a mug online, rather like these ones that I have made. Or even as a bookmark or anything else. They are really simple and they're really straightforward and they're really lovely to make as well. So grab some pencils and colour. Let's get going. Right, so first things first, what we need to do is we need to map out some flowers on our bit of paper. And as you can see, I have taped this. This is a piece of watercolour paper. It's not especially thick, it's nothing particularly special. I've just taped it down because when I start painting on it, I don't want it to buckle. I want it to stay as flat as possible. I've got some lovely narcissi here, and I'm going to paint a few other daffodils in kind of from memory, because I've had a lot of daffodils in the studio over the last few weeks. And what you want to do is kind of think about some big shapes and maybe some small shapes. So I'm going to go with some I'm going to draw much. I would not normally draw this this hard with a pencil, but the reason I'm doing it is that so that it's more visible on the camera. So when you're drawing something with 6 petals, each petal is going to be opposite another petal. So the easiest thing to do is draw a petal, draw the middle, and then draw the one out the other side. And then it's much easier to see. You can see where I'm putting these in, where the other ones will go. So this is a beast of a daffodil. It's a really big one. And you can kind of just draw around a couple of times to make the centre, just allow the pencil to wiggle a little bit, and that will do the job. And before you know it, you've got a daffodil shape. The narcissi that I've got here are a little bit different, so I'm going to put a little one in here. And what you end up with here is you've got lots of petals that you can only see the top of. So these bits here, it's what's called foreshortening. So what you're getting is just that very tiny bit of petal, which looks a bit weird when you draw it in, but will look totally fine when you paint it. So there's my little narcissi there with all its petals. I'm going to have a little daff just on the end here, which is going to be one of those ones with really thin little petals. So that'll go like that. There'll be a little bit of one coming on the corner, but I'll deal with the corners later. I want to put some sort of main players in here. So let's have another one here. Centre. And I'm going out the other side, a bit like a... what do you call those things on planes? Propeller, that's the one. Like a plane propeller. There we go. And don't worry about making extra marks. You can see here I've drawn over the end of got the petal in slightly the wrong place. It really doesn't matter. By the time you finish this, you won't be able to see those. Maybe another narcissi here might be nice. You can see I'm using a kind of almost like a continuous line drawing technique for this, and there is a video on that elsewhere on my YouTube channel, which you'll be able to find. And the reason is I want to keep this super loose, super light, super kind of relaxed. This is just a pencil sketch. We'll have another one up here. This is going to be more of a little chunky daffodil here. I'm trying as much as I can not to let them touch, but some of them are going to get quite close. This is going to be one of those tiny little ones that you get out in the woodland. So again, it's that pattern of 6. Got room for a fairly sizable one here, I think. And you're just filling it in as much as you can and trying to sort of fill gaps in. Oh, that one is not brilliant. That'll be all right. And I can probably get another. I'll put in one here. There we go, we've got a nice one there. And I'll put in a few sort of random petals around the edge because you don't really want gaps as such, so it's fine to put in. I'll put in another little one here. As you get to that point, you can kind of see where the gaps are, and I think that will just about do. So if I lift that up, so you can see that we've got nice big pencil, bold pencil lines, As I say, you can go in much, much lighter, but I have gone in heavy so that you can see what I'm doing. This double line around the centre of the daffodil, I've missed it on that one, haven't I? There we go, do that one as well. And a little kind of some of the stamens in the middle. So there we go, that's kind of all we need for now. And then we need to start thinking about exciting paint colours. So it's all about yellow, isn't it, basically? Daffodils, it's all about yellow. So I will just pop that down and start mixing up some colours. Right, so I've loaded the palette with some nice bright yellows. I've got a fantastic cadmium yellow here, which is going to do the job. Any kind of paint will do for this. I'm using watercolour because that's my thing. I'm also using a big flat brush, and flat brushes are fab for this type of painting because they stop you getting too fussy, but as you'll see later, they're really good for painting in around things. So I am going to start with some really bright colours. I'm not going to worry too much about going over the edges of my pencil because, to be honest, let's face it, I do that all the time anyway. There's rarely a picture that happens where I don't do that. But also, this is meant to be quite a kind of a joyful painting. It's meant to be a little bit loose, a little bit just having a bit of fun with it, really. It's got layers, so other layers will come in. I'm going to make the middle of that one yellow as well, but I've got like a slightly deeper yellow here, and I'm going to grab a smidge of that and just bob it in the middle. And you can see I'm not waiting for the paint to dry. Not at all. I'm just going to let it happen. Now I did have some orange. Where's the orange? Ooh, that's a bit dirty. Never mind. That's better. I'm going to make this one orange. And you can see it's gonna spread out. That is fine. We're not going to worry about that. What other colour should I have? Now you get kind of these have got a very creamy, lovely creamy colour. So to get that lovely cream, what I'm going to do is get a little bit of this. I don't know if you can see whether this is off the edge of the. It may be. A little bit of like a mid-orangey yellow will make quite a nice cream if you dilute it right down. So again, I'm going to just get that on. I've got a couple of those, so we'll just get some of that on there as well. And then what I will do is I'll add in a little bit more colour. Now threes are great, so I'm going to make this one a pale one as well. And you may not be able to see much of this at this point, but you will be able to when I've got all the other colours on. And these have got these lovely little, I don't know, yeah, no, they are orange. I'm going to just, while it's still wet, I'm going to pop them in. So remember, if you're using watercolour, it dries lighter than you think it's going to. So don't be shy with your colour. There we go. And this one's going to have, I'm going to make that a different colour in the middle. You do get some daffs that have got a kind of a pinkiness to them. So I'm going to see if I can, oh my, that's also very dirty. Lord above, that is not a good colour. There, that's better. So a little bit of pink in with that will make some interesting colours. So the middle of that one is going to be this kind of, it's almost like a flesh tone type colour. And I shall use that for a couple more centres. So as a general rule, get a few things, if you've got something somewhere, use it somewhere else in the picture and it will help it pull it all together. So I've got two big yellow ones, haven't I? So my third yellow one is going to be this one in the corner. You can see how rough this is. It really doesn't matter. Some nice orange in the middle. It's just spreading out. It's doing its thing. I'm going to make a slightly paler yellow. Make a slightly paler yellow. Yes, I am going to make a slightly paler yellow. So that's just going to involve a little bit of water. And then this one is going to be that slightly paler colour. Here we go. So this is quite a nice, one of those slightly more dainty ones, and that one's going to be the same. So I've got this fierce yellow for some of them. That one hasn't got any colour on it yet, so I think that's probably also going to be not quite cream, but it's going in that direction. Just putting that colour on roughly, and we'll have yellow over here. If you think, oh, I didn't go in hard enough with that, say these, I decided I hadn't gone in hard enough with the orange, it's absolutely fine. Don't fiddle with it while it's wet, let it dry, then go back in. So that one was a little bit dry and I wanted it more orange, although that is possibly overkill. Equally, if you think, oh Lord, I have gone in too hard, it is too much, take it out. There we go. Easy, just a little bit of water will do the job. So I'm just going to put in a little bit more, just to make them, just to perk them up. There we go. Just using the corner of the brush, and this is why I love the square brush, the flat brush, because you can use the corner of it like that, but you can also use the whole flat of it to make the nice leaf shapes. I'm going to just go back in that one as well. What you're aiming for is a bit of balance here, so does that feel balanced now? Yes, I think it does. I've got some pale daffs, I've got some bright daffs, quite happy with that. I can always go back and add more colour later, that isn't a problem. But what I need to do now is let this dry. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back with some pencil crayons and add some line work. So before I do the next bit, which is going to involve a pencil crayon, I want to explain to you about colour wheels. And the reason I want to do that is because colour wheels are really important with what we're going to do here. So a colour wheel, if you've not come across one before, you can think of it like a rainbow, really. You get red, you get orange, you get that lovely yellow, we get some green going on. That's not very exciting green, is it? Let's pep that up a little bit. You get the greens, you get the blues. I've got some blue going on here, and then I've got some purple. And colour wheels are brilliant. So if you imagine that this has neighbours, its neighbours are there, but what is opposite is called a complementary colour, and complementary colours make each other exciting. If you put them next to each other, they make each other really sing. So red and green, blue and orange, and purple and yellow. And purple and yellow, that's where it's all at today. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using a purple pencil to draw around my yellow flowers, which might feel a bit counterintuitive, but it will be lovely, I promise you. And then I'm going to use some purple paint to really, really make them stand out. So that is a colour wheel, definitely worth investigating if you haven't come across them before. I'm going to get on with the drawing now, so I'll just find the picture and off we go. Right. Back with my purple pencil, and also this rather beautifully made latte from the cafe next door, in one of my mugs that I actually made using a wrap round like this. So there will be slurping noises, I apologise in advance. Right, purple pencil. This is just a Faber-Castell Polychromos pencil crayon, but literally any pencil crayon. You could even use crayons. Whatever you've got to hand will work brilliantly. The only thing you need to watch out for is that you need to make sure that it isn't water soluble, because if it is, when you put the next layer of paint on, you will lose bits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around these things quite hard, and this is my opportunity to kind of tidy up lines. So if the pencil line, for example here, the pencil line wasn't really working terribly well, now is the point where you can just reshape things a little bit. Don't worry about bits of paint that have gone places, that is absolutely fine. You can see already that this is making the flower really jump out. I'm just going to get a little bit of colour going on in the middle of this. A few little lines. I won't be taking the pencil lines off. You could if you wanted, but you'd have to do that before you hit it with this layer of pencil crayon. I actually quite like the pencil lines. It makes me feel like the flower is moving a little bit. So that's the big one done, and now I'm going to start. I'm pressing quite hard, and I'm just going to pull out all these petals and make them all stand out. These ones, going to be a little bit careful with these because I don't want them to end up too much purple in one place, but you've got to kind of trust it, because it may feel a bit weird at this point. You're going, oh my god, really, purple? But let's imagine for a moment that you're doing that with orange tulips. Now imagine this with a blue. That would be amazing. Or red tulips with a green, nice deep dark green. And if they're quite ready orange tulips, you go for a bluey green sort of colour to go over the top of them. So we're going to just get these lovely shapes in, and then what I'm going to do when I've done that is I'm going to get some paint on. So I'll show you the paint in a minute, and the paint is going to kind of go with this lovely purple. I'm going to try and mix up something that's not a million miles away, but you can see how quick and easy this is. And there are loads of things you can do with these panels. I'll try and put a list on the video when I finish sort of editing it down. But the idea, as I say, I've wrapped them around mugs, and if you're going to do that, just check the dimensions first. Make sure that you've got it big enough in both dimensions. This is way too big to go on a mug, but that's because I wanted you to be able to see it, but also because you can shrink things down. It's the dimensions, sort of like what is that measurement compared to that measurement. That's what's important. The other thing you could do with this, which is what I'm hoping to do with this, is make a little sketchbook cover. I will see if I can do that, but I think I might need a hole punch, and I'm not sure I've got one here at the studio. I might have to go and see if I can nick one from somewhere, because I've got an idea that will work, and I quite fancy a new sketchbook, to be quite honest. Right, how are we doing here? We're doing quite well. It's really easy to miss one, so I'm just going to go back and get this little guy in the corner. Be careful with the corner ones. Just again, keep thinking about petals opposite each other so you don't inadvertently add something that looks like it's got about 30 petals. So it's easy to kind of go around like that and go, oh, that's not right. So we're nearly there. Nearly there. And I'm just going to get these colours in. Some of these lines will get lost under the paint because we're going to be painting around these. So if you've gone in a little bit heavy and you think, oh dear, that's a bit much, it won't matter. I'm all in favour of things that come in lots of different layers because it does give you lots of bites of the cherry, so to speak. Nobody gets things right first time. We're not perfect, etc., etc. Human beings, eh? Right, so you can see already that is now really popping. It is popping like mad, and this is a technique that I use in my art all the time. If I'm using pencil crayons over the top of watercolour, you'll quite find that I've picked the opposite colour to what's actually happening on the page. And again, it just makes it sing. Now I'm going to clean the palette off, and I'm going to mix up a lovely rich purple, and then we're going to get painting in the around the flowers. Okay, let's go. So we're going to use the same big brush, and you might think, oh god, how on earth is she going to get it in between those tiny little gaps there? You will see. I'm going to mix up a purple. It's going to be a very, very rich purple. Quite a scary purple. Let's go for it. And the important thing here is you want a massive puddle of it. Don't stint on the paint. Don't stint on the paint, because if you do, you will have a problem, because you will run out halfway through, and while you're frantically mixing the rest of the purple, firstly, you'll never get the same colour again, not possible. Secondly, it will dry. So I'm going to be mixing this is an absolute beast of a puddle, frankly, and you may find it's still not big enough. So let's see if my ability to gauge these things is all right, because after this point I'm not going back in the water and I'm not going back in the paint, so I need to be pretty sure I want to do this in one go. And it's not going to matter if it's a little bit kind of sketchy around the edges, but you know what, we're going to try and get it in one go. So I've loaded the brush. I'm going to start at the end opposite to where my hand is, so I am left-handed, as we all know. I'm going to start this end. You can see I can use the point here to just cut in, and this is what oil painters do quite a lot, and this is why I kind of like, you're not trying to get exactly right up to the flower edges. If you go over the flower edges a bit, nobody's going to mind, but what you're trying to do is just cut in. So say I've got a bit of yellow here that shouldn't be there, just cut it in. This is what oil painters do to put in, to cut around sort of headlands, clouds, whatever they're doing, tree edges. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're channeling a little bit of that. So you're going to end up with quite kind of blunt edges on things. and that is totally fine. Let's just get all those little bits. You can see actually the brush is quite good for this. If you do not feel comfortable with a brush this size, don't do it. Pick a smaller one, but don't pick something so small that you're having to make 1,000 tiny brush strokes. Really, you want to deliver, oops, gone over the petal, doesn't matter. You want to deliver maximum amount of paint, gone over another petal, it's fine. Maximum amount of paint with each stroke. On balance, this might be a little bit big, but you know what? Who cares? It's fine. I'm romping through this puddle of paint. But look at that purple against the yellow. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. We've got exciting things happening. I've got a small insect trying to get out of it. My daffodils are so realistic, things are literally landing on them. Right, let's get around that one. And we're just going to paint these in one at a time. Now, paint dries fast. It's warm today, unbelievably. I'm in the studio, it's actually not raining. So I'm aware that these edges are going to be drying quite fast. So if you've got quite a large area to cover like this, the best thing to do is to keep moving with the edges. So for example, this bit up here, I've left it for a little while, but I'm not going to leave it for too long, because if I leave it for too long, it will dry. So I'm just working my way across the page, one bit at a time. There we go, just getting across there. And we're going to come down here, this little bit here. You can hear random things in the background. The cafe next door is quite busy at the moment. It's a lovely day here in Collerton. There is lots of people having a cup of tea outside and enjoying the sunshine. Right, there we go. So I've got round that one, and by working from my non-dominant side to my dominant side, it just stops me doing the classic thing of putting my elbow through it, which, let's face it, I've done it many times, but not today. There we go, there we go. So we're getting there. I've just left little gaps between these. If you're nervous about how well you're going to be able to paint between them, just leave slightly bigger gaps. Or as I say, a slightly smaller brush won't be the end of the world. We're just cutting in, getting there. Oh, palette's in the way now. I'm just going to have to move that out of the way because I've got nowhere to put my hand. Top corner. That's looking good. Now, all the way down here. Yeah, I think part of the reason I quite like the big brushes is because it stops me being too finicky about I think given the chance I would probably paint very neatly right up to the lines of everything, but actually that isn't what this is about. This is about daffodils wild and free, so it's about colour, it's about lines, it's about enjoying the spring, you know. And actually the daffodils have been quite difficult this year because I thought there would be, naively, I thought there would be plenty left at this time of year, and actually we're on the very last ones. Okay, I think we're there. So I've got from one end to the other, so just remember, try and keep the paint moving the whole time. You can see I've got loads left on my palette, which is great. So really big puddle. I mean, literally get a dinner plate, mix it up on a dinner plate. Don't go back and tinker with things. It's better to let it dry and go back and do another layer afterwards. There's always this dangerous point with paint where it isn't wet and it isn't dry. And if you start tinkering with it, then what you get is you get funny sort of cauliflowers and things. There's a very happy child just going past. Lots of screaming, dear oh dear. Right, I'm going to dry that, and then I'm going to show you any last minute bits and bobs that I'm going to do with it. We're basically there, it's just last minute things now. Okie dokie, last touches then. So, having done all the purple, I'm just going to go back over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more, just a little bit more orange in the middle of some of these, just to pep it up. There we go. Just to kind of reinforce where the edges of petals and things are. And you can play with this as much as you like. It can be as detailed or not. I'm going to just tidy up. That one's a little bit giddy, so we'll just sort that one out. Because the paint dries so much lighter than you think it's going to. Even I still get caught out by it. So, you know, let's just pet those up. Yep, and I think a bit more orange. That'll do the job. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tape off. Ha 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 ha, there's dangerous. So if you're removing tape from anything like this, if you've not done this before, you peel it away from the picture like that, and if it starts to catch, you will see it catching, stop immediately and go and fetch a hairdryer, because hairdryers, if you hit the tape with the hairdryer, the glue melts, and then you'll be able to peel it off really carefully. Just mind your fingers, because they can get a little bit hot when you're doing that. You can see it's caught just there, but that doesn't matter, that's going to be well out of the picture. So I'm just going to peel it off very carefully. If you peel away from the picture, then you are not going to rip the picture. Whatever happens, it will rip away from the picture, so that will save you. There's nothing worse than accidentally shredding something that you've just painted. So you can see this is coming off fine. Another way of making it less tacky is to actually stick the tape on your jumper before you start sticking it onto the painting. It just detacks it ever so slightly. This isn't fancy painter's tape. This is just bog standard masking tape like you'd use for doing your skirting boards in your house. This one is a little bit stickier for some reason. But isn't it nice to get the nice clean edge? Oh, that wants to rip. No, you don't. Just peel it off. One bit at a time, patience, and taking it slowly. It's the only way to go. Right, that's that bit done. And last bit, you can see it's caught quite badly on that corner, but again, that's fine, doesn't matter. It's caught a little bit there. Just make sure I'm pulling away from the picture. Away from the picture, away from the picture, and there we go. There we go. All done. Okay, one last optional extra. If you're not fancying turning it into a mug, which is what I've done here, I used a UK company called Vistaprint for this. You just send them a photo, show them how you want it wrapped round, and off you go. If you want to make a little sketchbook for it, what you need to do is cut it out, obviously. Make sure you've got some nice neat edges on it. And then what I did was I just folded it around to make this shape. So what you want is this bit is just tucking under the edge of there. Can you see how that's just under the edge of there? I worked it out roughly and then scored it based on, and this is the critical thing, the size of the piece of paper you've got. I mean, you could do this with post-it notes or something like this, but I've done it with these bits of paper that I cut up, which were leftover bits from calendars. Now, if you are good with needles and threads or hole punchers and split pins, you could put them through the top here, but you need to leave this little flap. I, however, am quite lazy. And I also have a very, very large bulldog clip here, so what I am going to use is that, which will trap all my paper, and then all I need to do is tuck that under the edge of there, and I have got a neat little sketchbook for basically very little effort. There it is, it's got all my old scrap paper in it, and if I want to do some drawing or I want to write some notes, it's right there, and because it's attached by that I can just pull them off. But obviously if you had split pins you'd just probably rip them off. So there's quite a lot of paper in there. This would be a lovely little present for somebody. And if you made it with acrylic inks or something, it would also be fairly waterproof. Obviously watercolour is not waterproof, so if you wanted to keep this looking super nice, you'd have to put a plastic cover over it or something like that. You know, you can get stick-on stuff and that would do the job. But there we go, there's that, there's that. We're all done. So that's about it for April's Art Club, and I hope you've had fun having a go at this. They are lovely to make, so if you have made one at home, I'd love to see it. Send me a picture. I'm at Anna Brewster Art on most of the social media, and I shall see you in May. Happy painting!